An eventful 48 hours in Athens. Georgia loses their defensive coordinator to the Oregon Ducks. Matt DeBerry is going to talk to us about recruiting and how busy a week we've got running up to Wednesday. And Ryan Curley is also going to jump in with his thoughts on the weekend, too. Same here, Dean Legge from Dog Post. Please take advantage of this $2 deal while you can. There have been a lot of people who have signed up. Matt, I'm going to go to you straight away. What are the recruiting ramifications of Dan Lanning leaving? And what do we know from this weekend so far about the Georgia Bulldogs?
Well, every weekend right before signing day, things are great. Things are wonderful. The kids have a great, and you can really see where Georgia stands with a lot of kids when they're taking their final visit before they sign to Georgia. So they had multiple 5-stars on campus this weekend for official visits. Some commitments, some are top targets. As it relates to Dan Lanning, I don't think it's going to affect this current class as much. We've already seen a few of their top, defensive commitments come out and say they're all dog, locked in, so on and so on. It will affect some of the 2023 kids that he's gotten to know a little bit in the state, but that should be expected. But they're definitely not in the same situation that Clemson is in and Florida's in, trying to put their class together in these final few days. I think a lot of Georgia's commitments on defense and still some of the guys that they're out there recruiting, still have Georgia towards the top and, for some of them at the top of their list right now. So as long as Kirby is there and Will Muschamp is there helping out and Glenn Schumann is there, who might get the promotion, I think he's well deserved of it and has probably earned it at this point anyway. I think things are going to continue to be really smooth on the defensive side of the ball on the recruiting trail.
Ryan, what was your reaction when you saw that Dan Lanning was headed to Oregon?
Well, I think we assumed for the last 2 years that he was going to get a job as a head coach. I didn't really anticipate to be as good of a job as Oregon. I knew he was in consideration for the Oklahoma job. Those were both great jobs, but I think that he landed himself an awesome deal, and they're going to face off in week 1 next year, and that'll be exciting in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But good for him, and I think he'll recruit well out there. He's got one main competitor in Lincoln Riley, and that's going to be fun to monitor in the Pac-12. As far as Georgia goes, I think Matt kind of hit it on the nose there. I mean, the staff that they've put together is a good recruiting staff all around, especially with Muschamp and Schumann there. I mean, kids respect those guys, and Kirby has done a good job of replacing people and making sure that he has the right guys around him. So Lanning was a big piece of the puzzle, but I don't think that's going to kill Georgia. I mean, they still have a top 3 class, and they could finish number 1.
Hey, Matt, what do you make of, Dan, it looks like, is going to stick around for the college football playoff? Let me lay out the timeline here. It looks like Georgia's going to start practice about 6 days from now on Saturday, probably. I don't know that 100%, but signing day will be Wednesday. If I were Dan, I would be in Eugene. I mean, he might be in Eugene, Oregon right now. He should be. But when signing day happens, there's just not a ton to do on campus. I mean, he's not going to be coaching the bowl game for the Ducks. I think you can go either way here. I think it's probably the right move considering the situation. Dan Lanning is planning on winning championships at Oregon. To me, I'm not aware that Dan he has not been a defensive coordinator during a playoff run. I think it's a smart move to stay and just see how you prepare for this thing. What was your thought on the decision that Dan would stick around for at least 1 game, if not 2, in the college football playoff?
Well, I think the Alabama game left a bad taste in his mouth and the players' mouths. I think that the players love that he's coming back. They're going to play even harder for him. I'm not sure how much harder place. It is a playoff game after all. I think it's good for everyone that he came back. I mean, Dan can still learn, and he can learn to be a better coach in this next game and the game after that. So this is going to prepare him if he is going to lead Oregon to a final one day, which he absolutely could. Dan Lanning is a dog post guy, so I'm happy for Dan.
That's what you care about.
He's a dog post guy. Yeah. So I'm super happy for my guy and what he's doing out there. But he is a good coach, and I think he is going to again. They're already relevant, but I think it is a great job for him, and I think he's going to surround himself with a lot of other really good recruiters who can recruit on the West Coast. He has a lot of connections down here, so I expect Oregon to recruit the state of Georgia heavily in the South, because that's where the players are, that's where the speed is, and you got to get faster at Oregon. It'll be interesting to see who's on as the OC. But they're used to points out there. But overall, it's good for him, and it's good for Georgia that he is, sticking around to stay. I believe Kirby stuck around and coached Alabama after he took the Georgia job, if I remember correctly. So I think that's how it happens most of the times, and it's good for everyone. I think that he's doing that this time.
Yeah, he did, and I did want to say that I think it's the right call. We have a little delay on Matt's audio and his video, so we'll deal with that as time goes on here. The value is not in seeing us talk. The value is in the content, which is one thing that you should be going over to Dog Post for. Is see us and talk to us every single day. We've had about 10,000 people read the article that we've got up on what we were hearing for the day, and that's an important number. Let me tell you, 10,000 is not nothing. But I would encourage folks to go over there. It's $2 for 2 months. Right now, it's a great time to be a member of Dog Post. The interesting thing to me, Ryan, was that the person that officially put this out there was Kirby Smart. It was not Oregon. It was not Dan Lanning. And if I know anything about Kirby, he likes to control what he can control, as they often say at Georgia. And one thing he was trying to do, I think, and Matt can jump in here too, they were hosting a lot of guys on Friday. And when this came out, I think Kirby wanted to say, hey, look, or what was it, Saturday? Saturday, sorry. Friday and Saturday they were hosting guys, but the questions were really popping up after Chip's report on Friday. And Saturday, Kirby just put the release out, hey, we're congratulating Dan. He's moving on. We're sticking with Dan. We're sticking with Glenn Schumann and Will Muschamp.
No, I think that definitely he wanted to control the situation, especially if he's with these kids that may or may not be coming here, and a lot of defensive guys in this class. So I think he definitely jumped out there. Like you said, Chip reported on Friday that this was likely to happen. So there are questions to be said because we don't know how many of these players are coming to play for Lanning. So, he's probably wanted to clear some things up. I'm sure there are a few guys that were excited to play under Coach Lanning.
I think so. Matt, don't you think?
Absolutely, and I've spoken with a few recruits, a few of their parents, more importantly, in case, and they said, yeah, he was a really good recruiter, but it's he's not the only guy that has a relationship with there. And at Georgia, McGee, is out there helping recruit some of these defenders if they're in specific areas. So these guys get to know a lot of these coaches, and obviously they want to be close to the guy who's coaching them. But Glenn Schumann knows these guys a lot. Kirby has, his hands all over this defense. He's over on that side of the field in practice. So, he's the biggest defensive coach they have. But I think a lot of these recruits and parents kind of saw coming. They know this is a business, and you can't really blame him for taking a job like that. And there's been recruits tweeting out like, hey, go get it, Coach Lanning, well deserved. This more people are happier for Dan than I feel like in most cases we see these big time, coaches leaving right before signing day type of stuff. But I don't think it's going to affect Georgia in this class at all. But never say never. But I do think they're going to end up having another gigantic day like this staff usually does.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to wind up with number one. They're slightly behind Alabama, and Alabama has some spots to fill. So Bama probably should wind up with the number one class. Part of it's going to be what happens with Travis Hunter, and I'm not going to sit here and explain on this video when you can read it over on Dog Post in more detail what's going on there or what is not going on there. That's for y'all to read and find out more there. And honestly, one story, one video, we can't wrap up. Things change so quick, it feels like, with signing day. But this class is a solid class, etc. I did want to just talk to y'all both real quick. I don't know how much you've gotten a chance to see and watch and take a look at Michigan. I started watching them going backwards, so starting with the Ohio State game and moving backwards through the season. And I do think Georgia can have the ability to run on the Wolverines if they stay committed to it. I don't know. This is a game Georgia should win. I'll just put it like that. So one of the two of y'all can jump in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're the better team. There's a reason they're favored by a touchdown, and that number jumped out at me as a little high at first, but I get it. If there's a team that's going to shut down Michigan's run offense. I think it would be Georgia's defense. Michigan's going to have a difficult time running the ball against Georgia, and that's where their bread and butter is. They're not a dynamic passing offense like Alabama or like an Ole Miss or even Ohio State. That's just not their game, and that's the type of offense that's more suited to beat Georgia. That's just not what they are. I think Georgia can score on Michigan regardless of who's behind center, who's under center. But they do have a really good defense. This is the second best defense Georgia will face to date, Clemson being number one. And that was a very different Clemson team back then. They're different teams at this point in time. And obviously you have a Heisman final. He was the Heisman runner-up, actually,
Yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson. And he's going to get after. He's a strong guy. He's got good pass rush moves. I've watched a little bit more of him. He's a guy that's going to get into that backfield. You're going to have to double him, but he's going to get back there some. And it's going to be up to the quarterback to make the right decision and up to Monken to design ways for them to gain yardage. But I think that Georgia can score on them, and I'm suspicious that Michigan is going to be able to run successfully on Georgia to the point where they could win the game.
So, Matt, Michigan's given up about 40 yards more a game on the ground than Alabama is defensively. Do you think that makes a difference at all? Because, I mean, they are a good defense now. Let's not act like they're not. They are.
They're a really good defense. I think Georgia's the more talented and deeper team, and I think those two should, elevate them to be able to win the game. But are they going to be the team? Are they going to be the better coach team? That I'm not really sure. Michigan is a physical football team. They're very similar to Georgia in a lot of ways. I like the running backs. I love Donovan Edwards ever since Georgia was recruiting him out of high school. That dude can play. And this is going to be offensive lines that Georgia's front is going to be going up against. Again, Alabama won that battle in the trenches. Michigan absolutely can win that battle in the trenches. But I think Georgia, you got to get the ball to Brock Bowers. I'm not sure if there's anyone in the country that, is match for him. So I do think Georgia, like Ryan said, should be able to run the ball a little bit. But it's going to be a game in the trenches. It's going to be a fight, and it's going to be physical.
Yeah.
So it should be a fun game to watch. So I think it's going to be really close. I've got a score in my head that I'll put out there a little bit later, but I'm expecting a 4-quarter battle. But at the end of the day, Georgia's talent and depth overall, I think, should be able to win out.
Yeah, I wonder here, y'all, if Georgia's going to be so concentrated on what happened with Alabama that they try to replay the Alabama game. Because I'm going to tell you right now, even if they were playing Alabama in Miami, the game would be a different game. And you have to play the game that's in front of you, not the one behind you. I do apologize for Matt's delay. It's nothing really he can do about it. But we have gremlins from time to time. That's why I'm rolling over the video. But the point is, I think from what he's saying is, I mean, and it's clear to me that Georgia is the better team. But I thought Georgia was the better team going into the Alabama game, and they were completely outcoached. And the Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett did not play well in the biggest moment of the season, which was the SEC championship game. And in order for Georgia to have success against Michigan and beyond, whether it's Cincinnati or Alabama, they're going to have those two things improved. This is not exclusively a Stetson Bennett problem, Ryan.
No, it's not. And we've beaten the drum on it, on everything that went wrong, but Georgia got outcoached and outplayed across the board in this game. And as much as the fans need to get over it, which we've talked about, the team is going to have to just get over it and use the tape that they saw in that game to play better for the next
we can't
games.
know. They might be. I mean, I don't know.
I
mean,
don't know.
the next day there was the next day allegedly there was a team meeting with the players only. I don't know. I found Kirby and Matt. Don't take what I'm saying for you not to jump in. Jump in. I'm just saying to the audience. Your audio is slightly delayed from your video, but I don't know why Kirby was so happy or whatever it was
Man.
the next
That was the
day.
best mood I've seen him since they beat Florida.
And I mean, to me, it was kind of like running up to the season. I was like, what is this guy doing that we don't know about, Matt?
I think this team is ready after that. I think we've mentioned it before. I think Kirby mentioned it before. They kind of hit some adversity like this and what a loss would mean to these guys in the locker room. But there's a lot they have to fix. We saw that for sure. And they're not as good as we thought. And they're probably not as good as they thought themselves. And this is the crazy story of, if they do win it all, we can look back and say they needed that loss to Alabama to maybe, finish the season the way they did. But they're going to have to take care of business then and completely change the way they go about things. But right now, on Michigan, again, this is a game we've talked about that Kirby cannot lose. He should not lose this game. There's a big red flag if you lose to Michigan in this game in this type of setting. And I feel they're going to get the job. Definitely business trip. No Christmas break. These guys are eating Wolverines in their sleep right now. They want to get out. And I think they'll be ready.
They got something to prove. I think, Ryan. I mean, I don't want to hear disrespect. I mean, that word is so overused. You want to talk about disrespect? You disrespected yourself, not being ready for that moment. I mean, it's not about the fans paying hundreds of dollars over ticket value price to watch, that game. This is about what are you doing as a player or a coach or whatever, administrator, I guess, to prepare yourself for this run up to this game. I mean, they only play in 20, what is this? What's the math here? 25 days? No, the 31st, excuse me. 19 days. So, I mean, it's not exactly that far away. What is happening right now inside the program or inside every single player? Are they doing the right thing? Are they studying for finals when they should be studying for finals? Are they laying off, for lack of a better term, little Debbie's? I mean, are you feeling sorry for yourself beyond the period of time that you were supposed to feel sorry for yourself? I mean, just to be frank, bad shit happens. And sometimes you don't do the right thing. And one can lead to the other. But you have to move on. And, what Alabama has done a great job through the years of moving on. When you think about 17 Auburn. I mean, Auburn whipped them that day, and they went on to win the national championship. 3 weeks ago, Alabama got thoroughly outplayed by Auburn and won the game. And then a week ago is as if that game didn't even exist. So there's still a lot to be done here. There's only one undefeated team in this 4-team playoff, and that's Cincinnati. I don't give them much of a chance, but they are there. So I don't know, Ryan.
Look, if it was up to me, if I was in charge, they would have gotten over that game Sunday morning afterwards. I mean, it's time. You can win a national championship still. It's time to focus on Michigan. Focus on fixing what happened against Alabama on Saturday night. Yeah. Do not repeat that. Focus on how to beat Michigan. You have 2 games here. You got to win the first one, and then you got to win the second one. But you don't get the second one
without the first one.
That's what I'm saying. People need to stop worrying about it. And that's what I'm concerned that the players might be because of the media attention and the fan attention around it. That's more my concern. The way that everyone's just whining about the Alabama game. Chill out.
Well,
it happened. It happened, and you need to beat Michigan now, and that should be the focus.
Hey, Matt, let me throw it to you real quick, even though you'll be buffered. The one thing is, it's not a normal time on campus right now. A lot of the students are gone, and Georgia will be there by themselves the bulk of the time. As much as guys say they don't read social media, don't read, whatever, I don't blame them for not listening to Dog Post. There's other more reputable people to listen to out there. But it is a little bit of a different time right now in December 12th on. There's not as many people around, so perhaps they can focus completely and shut out the noise, for lack of a better term.
Well, I think you're going to see the leaders really show up in these next few weeks. Guys like Nolan Smith, who didn't really play all that well at all against Alabama and kind of down the stretch. But guys like Jordan Davis, Devonta Wyatt, a lot of these guys on defense, specifically after their performance against Alabama, I think they're going to really rally this team and keep them focused. That's what they're there for. We talked about this senior class and, some of these juniors that are going to be leaving. There's a lot of guys who are playing possibly their final game or two in Athens. So I think you have a strong veteran leadership, kind of led group. And I think that's going to really help them out in the next couple of weeks. They've been here before. Michigan hasn't been here before. Georgia should know the process of what it takes to win and prepare for big games, whereas Michigan is just now getting to where people thought they would be maybe 4 years ago. 5 years ago. So Georgia's been here. They should take care of business, and we're going to see, if these leaders, how they can lead a team that just got their ass kicked to Alabama for the second year in a row. But the season's not over. I think this team is going to rally and play much better against Michigan.
I think if you go back and watch, and one guy that if you could emulate his effort the bulk of the year, it'd be Devontae Wyatt. He has had a great year. He fell down against Bryce Young, and if I remember the play correctly, he fell down against Bryce when Bryce Young was in the open field and came back from behind and stripped him. That ball wound up in Young's hands, almost not miraculously, but just fortuitously. And Alabama scored and got up 7. But it's the type of play that Devontae kept making this season that I think is a good omen. They've got to do that. They've got to practice. Again, I say this a lot. Any one person can bring it in a practice. It can be a walk-on. It can be a trainer who's just out there getting it, But one player can bring it down too. We're going to have to see. These guys' backs are up against the wall, but it's a real quiet time in Athens right now. The students are basically gone. They'll be completely gone soon. So this is about how can you move forward from this point forward. Final thoughts, Ryan?
You were the better team against Alabama, and you lost the game. Don't let that happen twice. You're a better team than Michigan, and I think you have the best roster in the country. You got to prepare like it, and just focus on dominating.
Matt,
that's my message to Georgia.
Hey, it's recruiting season, baby. Signing day, 2 days away. It's one of the best times of the year. Yeah. Great time to be on dog post. There's a lot going on. There's like 8 big giant targets still left out there. Can't wait to have everyone covered on it over the next 48 plus hours.
You totally have to go to Dog Post if for no other reason to read the one quote about Travis Hunter that we have in that story. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the website, and we'll see you signing up.